Oh, we actually do have a second positive story. I totally forgot about this. I'm glad I'm finding positive stories. Um,
If you're very forgetful, then it's just bonus positivity.
yeah. Um, so the this story is at the start of the year, Ofcom widened its definition of hate speech to include gender reassignment, a welcome addition considering all like the transphobic hate that's been going on in the UK. Um, like each day, excuse me, each day like the past few years, without fail, there's been always been one or two articles focusing on trans people, the vast majority of which have been transphobic. Um, so, a lot of this has been called out. There's been a lot of inaction and actually tackling the transphobia of like the mispresented and how everyone's saying, trans women are a danger and all this, and oh my god, trans men are lost lesbians. This whole campaign has just been going on for the last few years. Um, and it's a welcome addition to the fact that trans people are sort of getting specific recognition, because you can argue that we were covered under gender before, but gender reassignment sort of explicitly does things. I should note that if this is acting in accordance with the definition of gender reassignment seen in the Equalities Act, um, it doesn't necessarily mean medical reassignment. That's an important thing, because the Equalities Act has very similar terminology, and a lot of like transphobes, and we covered, I think, Jaguar Land Rover or something. They tried to argue in court that they couldn't be held for discriminating against a non-binary person because they hadn't medically transitioned. Um, and like the courts were like, actually, like they clarified this back when the bill, like the law was passed. No, that's why it says gender reassignment, whether social or medical or otherwise. Like the otherwise includes social transition, legal transition, all these things. So if it's basing itself on the same terminology, then that's a welcome thing. However, it's not totally been without concern, because on top of gender reassignment, they added political or any other opinion, which does raise some concerns relating to the whole tolerance paradox. For those who don't know what the tolerance paradox is the whole idea that you have to tolerate intolerance, or you're not really tolerant, but if you tolerate intolerance, then tolerance dies. So, like, what do you do? Well, the simple solution is you reject the initial intolerance, because being intolerant of someone because they hate black people is very different to being intolerant of someone
Because they are black.
because they are black. Yes, sorry. I was trying to think of which one I said first. I was like, yeah. Um,
Yeah.
and there are concerns that this whole and any other opinion, will be used or abused specifically to
Which is
protect
just,
gender crits. Um,
it's also just weird because, like, some opinions are bad. They
mhm,
just are. Not all ideas are created equal.
mhm. Some people are worried that like this might be used to defend gender crits, and like there is basis for that concern. We see how religion is often used as an exemption rule in hate crime and hate speech specifically. So like there is concern there. However, there is also a solution there. Like again, with religion, people generally like understand that okay, religion doesn't exempt you from like tolerating other people. So like hopefully they're taking it that way and they're not taking it the other way, which just allows transphobes complete free reign. But we'll have to actually keep an eye out on that and see how it's used. Um, but it will be interesting to see how Ofcom applies these standards, especially to like places like the BBC, which has just gone down the drain completely the last few years. I mean, places like the Daily Fail and everything else. do we expect any better at this point? I don't really know. But yes, it'll just be interesting to see how that really goes.